Welcome to Resource Sessions. I'm Gwendolyn Sterk of Sterk Family Law, and I'm honored and privileged to have with us our July Not-for-Profit Hero of the Month. And we're here with Rosecrance today, and we're privileged to have the Director of Chicagoland Services, Matthew Quinn, with us. Welcome, Matthew. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Gwen. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. So tell us, what is Rosecrance?
We are a nonprofit organization that really focuses on behavioral health. Traditionally, we've had a focus on treating substance use disorders. That's always traditionally been our specialty, but we're in the process of expanding to treat mental health disorders as well, and being more of an overall behavioral health provider. We started with residential services. We and still currently have residential services for both adolescents and adults in Rockford. And then we've expanded, and we have seven outpatient locations throughout Chicagoland, including a 30-bed adult recovery home down in Lakeview in Chicago as well.
Got it. Well, you certainly have been around for a very long time. And locally here in the Orland Park area in Frankfurt, you're offering some very localized services. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've actually been in Frankfurt for about 10 years now. Just recently expanded our space there to be able to align with the goal that I mentioned earlier of becoming more of a mental health provider and not just a substance use provider. So we'll be offering specialized in individual therapy, group therapy, looking at potential psychiatry services as well. So this kind of represents the next step for us in Frankfurt of expanding our services.
Sure. And traditionally in the Frankfurt location, you provided a lot of support to people who had substance abuse issues. Can you explain the type of support that you provide for somebody and the families that are involved with that?
Yeah, so it really primarily comes in the form of both adolescent and adult intensive outpatient groups. And what intensive outpatient means is 9 hours or more of both group and individual work. Now, for our adolescents, we also, as you would imagine, we also have a family component because it's really important to include the family, and particularly the parents, just to be able to address the family system that maybe need some adjustment to best support the teen. So those are the primary programs that we've kind of had traditionally, and we'll be building off of out of that office.
Well, that's fantastic because then you can service the whole family and other individuals that are needing it. So if somebody's listening today and they say, okay, well, I don't have a substance abuse problems, but I know that my family, we need to identify and really service some of the mental health issues, they would still call the same contact information and be able to get those two areas, correct?
Correct. And that's the benefit of this expansion is we'll be able to treat both adolescents and adults that may not even have a substance use disorder.
Right.
If they need more of the traditional therapy, whether it be individual, family, couples, that allows us to be able to do that as well. And the other benefit, I know I mentioned our substance use services. Most of the clients that are in those services typically will have either a diagnosed or undiagnosed underlying mental health issue as well.
Sure.
So that'll allow us to integrate the treatment that we're doing with those clients to be able to complement the substance use focus and be able to also address the underlying mental health issues as well.
Right. And I think, I've been practicing family law for 34 years. So obviously Rosecrance has been a regular referral source for families that need it for the substance abuse, but really this expansion locally is new, and we want to get the word out because we need that assistance here in the suburban area on the south side as well. So now tell us about the insurance capabilities. How does it work for families? What's required in order to get the services rendered by Rosecrance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as an organization as a whole, as part of our mission, we really pride ourselves on being able to serve a really wide range of funding sources. In particular, in our substance use services, we take both commercial private insurance, but we also take state Medicaid plans as well.
Okay.
Now, with this expansion into mental health, initially at least, it will be private commercial insurance only, just because there's a lot of hurdles and a lot of other things in terms of being able to work with Medicaid for mental health as well. So
Sure.
I certainly don't want to mislead people. Initially, that will be how we'll start out with that. But for our substance use services, we for a long time have been able to serve both Medicaid and commercial insurance clients. And then if they're uninsured, we certainly have funds as well. We have our charity care that we can utilize potentially to or state funding. If someone is out of a job and they don't have insurance, we utilize Super, kind of our state partner, oftentimes to be able to. We have a fund through them that we could utilize for clients that don't have any funding. So even that's an option.
Yeah, there's just a lot of resources that are available then through your organization. That's fantastic.
Correct.
So what's the difference? So when does somebody go to the Frankfort location as compared to Rockford? Is Rockford more of an inpatient long-term? Can you explain the distinction?
Yeah, of course. So as you'd imagine, it would all start at the front door with a good, thorough biopsychosocial assessment to be able to determine. We need to make sure that we're determining the appropriate level of care, because that's important to set people up for success, is to make sure that we're getting them in the right level of care. And it aligns with the diagnostic criteria that you'll see in the DSM-5. If it's more on the severe level, particularly with substance use, that's traditionally where we'll recommend and encourage people to go through our detox and residential services, and potentially a recovery home as part of that. If they're stepping down from one of those services, or they meet criteria for more of a mild or moderate, then typically then they'll be more appropriate for that outpatient level, whether that be group or individual.
Now, let's say that family, in need and in crisis, is either listening or comes into our office and says, hey, I really don't want to go through my general practitioner. I don't want to go through a referral process. My insurance doesn't require it. Can they go directly to your entity, pick up the phone, call and say, hey, we need help?
Yeah, absolutely. Our assessments are free and confidential. We offer them to anyone in the community, just as even if that means that we end up referring them out to a different agency. We want to offer that to be able to get people where they need to go. So that first step is, regardless of their funding, we want to get the ball rolling with that, try to evaluate what their needs are. Of course, we hope it's with us, but if it's not, we can certainly provide and have access to plenty of resources in the community to provide some recommendations.
Now, also, your reputation has always been one of being supportive of veterans. Can you tell us about how you utilize, or what different approaches you might take with regard to that
Absolutely.
population?
In particular, we have a veterans focused, what's called our Florian program, is for both first responders and veterans. We have a specialized unit at our adult facility in Rockford. And then we're in the process of working with the VA regarding expanding some of our outpatient services. That's still in progress at this point. But that's something that we're looking at as well. So we've always we've had that veterans program for quite a while. I think it's been almost 5 or 10 years now.
Sure.
So we're really committed to serving that population.
And that's fantastic. Now, you are not for profit. So are there ways that maybe someone is listening and they say, well, I really don't have a need for the services, but I want to give back? And is there an annual event that you may have, or something that somebody could look at for purposes of getting to know your organization better?
Yeah, we have a couple annual events. We recently, in May, we had our benefit in Rockford, which is our largest benefit. But then every year, typically in October, we'll have our Chicagoland benefit, which is typically held downtown in Chicago. So through those, or we have a whole foundation that's focused on fundraising and being able to utilize those funds to serve our clients. So that would be an easy connection for us to make, and an easy resource.
Absolutely. So I know those of you who are listening today, maybe your family's in crisis, maybe alcohol or some other type of substance has been really the core of the problem. Rosecrance, as I said, over the years, I have been practicing for 34 years, and I know you've been a stability, a staple in our community to be able to provide these services and help people journey through this time. We can call them the dark years, you can call them whatever it is, but you have to get help. So if you're listening today, and what a magnificent change and evolution here to bring that out to the services in Frankfort. So we really appreciate your time today, Matthew. And I know that there's always been a solid reputation with your organization, as well as really servicing the individual. So if you're listening today and you're a family in crisis, we're going to post the information how you can get a hold of the local branch, and please utilize their services. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Quinn.